Do you know part of the reason why we can't game out Putin, or we can't game out Xi Jinping, or we can't act like responsible, serious people on the world stage? Because we can't even figure out what a woman is, and we can't figure out what a man is, and we're wasting all of our time debating these stupid things that even a 5-year-old knows, that we no longer know. The genius adults running our country no longer know. This is one of the reasons that we need settled norms. There are many good things about having settled norms. One of them is that we don't waste our time. A society that doesn't know what a man is and what a woman is cannot advance to more complicated questions. It's sort of like in school. You've got to learn 2 + 2 = 4 before you can start looking at trigonometry or more advanced algebra or calculus. You can't do those things until you figure out the basics. If you're constantly stuck at the basics of statecraft, of the relationship of the individual to the state and to each other, you're not going to be able to advance to more complex questions. And then what's going to happen? Your enemies are going to eat your lunch. These questions of norms are largely why the movie Lightyear just flopped at the box office over the weekend, which, not to say I told you so, but I did predict that would happen. The Lightyear movie is the latest Toy Story movie. It's a prequel, and unlike the earlier Toy Story movies, which generally are good, certainly the first one is terrific. I think number 2 is good too. I don't think I saw number 3, or was there a 4th? There might have been a 4th. I did, but they've been good movies. And then this one, they fire Tim Allen, who's the voice of Buzz Lightyear, and they fire him because he's a conservative. It's the only reason that makes sense. They didn't fire him because he was too expensive. They hired a more expensive actor to do it, Chris Evans. But Chris Evans is a huge lib, and Tim Allen is an outspoken conservative. So they fire Tim Allen, and then they insist on inserting a lesbian kiss scene. They insist, and it had initially been cut, but then the gay organization of Disney employees got very upset that it was cut. And so for Pride Month and to spite Governor Ron DeSantis, they reinserted a lesbian kiss scene. And then a bunch of conservative parents and normal parents and centrist parents and center-left parents even said, no, I don't think so. Because it's not even just because we don't want to see lesbian toys kiss. It's because it's not Toy Story. It's because whatever this thing is, I know it looks like Toy Story. It's got the same characters and the same colors and the same animation, but it's not Toy Story. Now it's the left using Toy Story, which is a nice, wholesome, normal story, to push its own woke ideology. The box office estimates dropped 35% in one day. Early Friday morning, heading into the weekend, the estimated box office was $85 million domestic. Then, by the end of the day, the estimates had dropped down to $55 million. The actual close was $51 million. The estimates for the global box office was $135 million, then dropped down to $85.6 million. Way down. Wasn't even the biggest movie of the weekend. So much money went into this movie, so much hype went into this movie, didn't even clear the biggest movie of the weekend. The biggest movie of the weekend was the new Jurassic Park movie, which did not open this past weekend. It opened the weekend previously. So the second weekend for Jurassic Park was better than the first weekend for the new Toy Story movie. Why? It's obviously just because of this fight over norms and over the gay kiss and the liberal actor playing Buzz Lightyear. And it's because the left has misunderstood America's penchant for tolerance. Americans are very tolerant, but we do not want to normalize much of the stuff that we tolerate. There's a difference between toleration and normalization. And the libs are banking on American tolerance in their campaign to normalize all sorts of behaviors. But we don't want to normalize that stuff. Americans like our norms. Americans are happy to tolerate people, especially on the sex issues, people's eccentric sexual desires and behaviors. Everybody's got a gay cousin or something, and no one really cares, right? We all just sort of tolerate it. It's fine, okay? It's not a big deal. But we don't want the LGBT ideology being taught to our kids in public schools, in libraries, in the movies. We don't want that. We're happy to tolerate. We'll tolerate the drag queen at the bar in Greenwich Village. We'll tolerate that exists. We don't really care. We will not allow that behavior to be normalized. We'll tolerate transgenderism in the sense that if there's a mentally ill man who thinks that he's a woman, we're not going to go out of our way to get in his face and say, no, you're actually a man. We're not going to do it. You remember Ben Shapiro went viral some years ago because he was on TV and this transgender dude was just getting all up in his face and yelling at him. And Ben said, well, what are your genetic characteristics, sir? Right? And he was being provocative because it was a TV show, but he actually wasn't the one provoking the situation. That wasn't an example of Ben being intolerant. I'm sure that if Ben has said this himself, if he were at a dinner party and some dude in a dress asked to be called she, he would oblige in the moment in the dinner party. But what is being asked by the TV debates over transgenderism and the transgender ideology in classrooms and libraries and movies is not toleration, it's normalization. It's not just, hey, will you, in your charity, in your grace, in your politeness, indulge some delusions of people at a dinner party? Will you tolerate this strange behavior? It is the demand that we actually lie and we actually pretend that it is normal for a man to think that he's a woman and that the man actually is a woman. We're not going to do that, okay? And I'm not just speaking for the right-wing conservatives here. America is just not going to do that, and that's why the Buzz Lightyear movie is not making a lot of money, and it's why there's a parents' movement in Virginia, in Florida, all around the country. And the Democrats are shocked by this. They're shocked because they overplayed their hand, and yet the libs keep pushing this. Joe Biden, in a Pride Month remarks, just came out and he said the ultra MAGA people now, we're the weird ones because we're going after Mickey Mouse because we don't want LGBT propaganda in the Disney movies.
No one knows better than the people in this room. We have a lot more work to do. A lot more work to do. I don't have to tell you about the ultra MAGA agenda attacking families and our freedoms. 300 discriminatory bills introduced in states across this country. In Texas, knocking on front doors to harass and investigate parents who are raising transgender children. In Florida, going after Mickey Mouse, for God's sake. That strike close to home. No, but think about this. All of you in this room know better than anyone that these attacks are real and consequential for real families.
Ha 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 ha, they're going after Mickey Mouse because Mickey Mouse isn't Mickey Mouse anymore. Just like Buzz Lightyear isn't Buzz Lightyear anymore. This is you might look like Mickey Mouse. He might have the sound of Mickey Mouse, but the things that Mickey is pushing are radical leftist propaganda. Ha ha! Men can really be women, ha ha! Little kids should chop off their body parts, ha ha ha! And take puberty blockers, ha ha! Isn't that funny, Goofy, ha ha! No, man, you're like a weird demon Mickey. You're not the real Mickey. You're some bizarro world Mickey that has been hollowed out and had the essence of Mickey taken out of it. And so what the left banks on is people's now generational affection for the Disney characters, which have now been murdered and have been hollowed out, and the leftist virus has crawled inside and reanimated its corpse, and it is just used to push radicalism. That's what Disney is under fire for. That's what Florida is pushing back against. Florida says, don't teach 5-year-olds weird sex stuff. Disney says, we're going to put all the weight of our gigantic multinational corporation behind a campaign to undermine the voters of Florida. And then Florida says, no, you're not. No, we're going to actually take away some of your tax incentives. We're going to fight back. We're not going to let you do that. And so the White House takes the side of the big, woke, crazy multinational corporation trying to groom the kids. And it's not working. DeSantis is very popular in Florida. The politicians around the country who are taking the side of parents and opposing the woke corporations are winning. And this is great news for DeSantis, by the way. Ron DeSantis is one of the most talented young politicians I've ever seen. This guy somehow is at the center of every national news story, and Joe Biden clearly sees him as a threat. That's why the sitting president of the United States, the incumbent who at least says that he's going to run for re-election, keeps going after DeSantis. I'm glad you like that clip. Now, hold on. ring the bell, please subscribe, like, do all that. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review. And then copy this URL right now, wherever you are on your app, and you can copy that URL. You got it? And now text it to 3 of your best friends. I am concerned as a philanthropist. I have heard that there are actually still some people who do not listen to or watch the Michael Knowles Show. And this is very sad. These people are deprived. You can change that right now. You've got it in your power. Text it, email it to your friends, your relatives. Do an act of kindness and charity today. We'll see you next time.